Since January 2026, there have been at least 9 significant policy and system changes across major U.S. airlines and airports. Not one of them was announced in a press release that hit your inbox. Not one was explained at the gate. They were buried in airline contract pages, terms updates, and internal directives that almost no senior traveler reads. And that quiet rollout is not an accident. It's how penalties get collected from people who don't know the rules have changed. If you've flown even once in the last few months, this video is for you. And if you haven't flown yet this year, but you're planning to, please stay with me. Because by the end of these 9 rules, you'll know exactly what changed, what it's costing other travelers right now, and how to make sure you're never the one standing at the checkpoint paying a fee you didn't know existed. Number 1 is the rule almost no senior has heard of, and it's the only one on this list that actually helps you. Let's start at number 9. Number 9. The $45 fee nobody tells you about at the checkpoint. The 9th rule is the one that hit Margaret in Atlanta, and it's the rule catching more older travelers off guard than any other change this year. As of February 1st, 2026, if you arrive at a TSA checkpoint without a Real ID compliant driver's license or another accepted form of ID like a passport, you are charged $45, non-refundable, just to be processed through security. The program is called TSA Confirm ID, and it's been quietly rolling out across every American airport ever since. Here's the part the airlines don't mention. The fee is valid for only 10 days. If your trip is longer than that, or if you come back later in the year, you pay it again. The verification process can take up to 30 minutes, which means even after paying the fee, many seniors still miss their flight. And TSA itself admits there's no guarantee they can verify your identity, meaning you could pay the $45 and still not be allowed through. According to TSA's own data, 95 to 99% of travelers are now showing up with proper ID, which means the small percentage who don't are being squeezed harder than ever. The fix is one small action you can do today. Pull out your driver's license right now. Look at the upper right corner. If there's a small gold or black star, you have a real ID, and you're fine. No star? Make a DMV appointment before your next flight, or carry a valid passport. Paying $45 every single time you fly is not a fun alternative. That's the new fee at the checkpoint. But the next rule is the one breaking the heart of millions of loyal travelers across America. Number 8. Southwest just killed its most famous promise. The 8th rule is the one that ended a 50-year tradition. On January 27, 2026, Southwest Airlines ended its policy of free checked bags, the single promise that built the entire brand. The first checked bag now costs between $35 and $45 each way, depending on your route and how early you book. There was no press conference, no email to loyal customers, no announcement at the gate, just a quiet update to the airline's policy page and the new fee showing up on every booking from that day forward. Here's why this matters more than just the dollar amount. A lot of older travelers still have Southwest on autopilot. They book it because they assume it's the cheapest option once you factor in bags. That math doesn't work anymore. When you add the bag fee, Southwest is now sometimes more expensive than its competitors on the same route. A round trip with one checked bag is now $70 to $90 in fees that didn't exist 6 months ago. For a senior couple flying twice a year to see grandchildren, that's a few $100s a year that just appeared out of nowhere. The fix is simple, but uncomfortable. Stop booking Southwest out of habit. Run the total cost with bags included on 3 airlines before you click purchase. It takes 2 minutes and could save you more than the price of the bag itself. That's the airline that ended a promise. The next rule is one that quietly turned every gate agent in America into someone watching you very carefully. Number 7. Why every gate agent is suddenly watching your bag. The 7th rule isn't a new policy. It's a change in how an old rule is being enforced. For years, that plastic bag sizer at the gate was decorative. Gate agents glanced at your carry-on, waved you through, and called it a day. Starting in late 2025 and accelerating hard through 2026, American Airlines, Spirit, Frontier, and now United have all directed their gate agents to physically pull bags and test them in the sizer before every boarding. Here's the part almost no senior has heard about, and it explains everything. At Frontier, gate agents now reportedly receive a $10 commission for every oversized carry-on they catch and send to baggage claim. United deployed automated bag sizing scanners at 35 airports in late 2025, with plans to expand to over 80 locations by the end of 2026. American and Delta are testing similar systems. The Honor system is dead. A bag that always fit in the overhead bin a year ago can now get pulled at the gate. And once that scanner flags it, the agent has no authority to override the machine. The on-the-spot gate check fee is $25 to $75, payable by credit card right at the gate. The fix is to measure your carry-on at home with an actual tape measure before your travel day. Not by eye. Include the wheels, the handles, and any external pockets. If your bag is borderline, just check it online during booking, when the fee is cheaper. And remember, most airports have sizers near the check-in counters before security. You can test your bag there before you commit. That handles your bag. But the next rule is one that catches even careful travelers off guard. Number 6. The gold star that decides whether you fly. The 6th rule is the foundation underneath the $45 fee from Rule 9. As of May 7, 2025, every adult traveler boarding a domestic flight in the United States must present a Real ID-compliant driver's license, a U.S. passport, or another federally accepted form of identification. There is no longer a grace period. There are no longer warnings. As of June 2026, enforcement is at its strictest level since the law was passed. Here's what almost no senior knows about their own license. Look at the upper right corner of your driver's license right now. If you see a small gold star or a black star in a circle, you have a Real ID and you're set. If you don't see a star, the license you've been using for years is no longer accepted at any TSA checkpoint in the country. It still works for driving, banking, and voting, but not for boarding a plane. Many older Americans haven't renewed their license recently, which means their card was issued before the Real ID requirement existed. They look at their wallet, see what looks like a valid license, and assume they're ready. They aren't. And a temporary paper license issued during a recent renewal is never accepted, no matter how new it is. The fix takes one trip to the DMV. Bring proof of identity, proof of Social Security, and 2 proofs of residential address. The DMV will issue your Real ID on the spot, or by mail within a few weeks. It costs the same as a regular renewal. It saves you $45 every time you fly for the rest of your life. That's the document in your wallet. The next rule is about the clock, and how one airline just made it less forgiving. Number 5. United's quiet 15-minute change that made late arrivals cost you everything. The 5th rule was buried in one line on United Airlines' contract of carriage page in early 2026. Passengers without checked bags now must be checked in at least 45 minutes before domestic departure. The old window was 30 minutes. There was no press release, no email to loyalty members, no announcement at the gate, just one line of policy text that nobody outside the airline industry was reading. Miss that 45-minute window, and your seat can be released to a standby passenger, even if you have a confirmed reservation, even if your boarding pass is already on your phone. Here's the real danger for older travelers. Seniors often arrive at the airport earlier than younger flyers, but they also move slower through parking, terminal navigation, and security lines. Many seniors are accustomed to the old rule and still think they have until 30 minutes before departure to be checked in. That 15-minute gap is the difference between catching your flight and standing at an empty gate explaining to your family why you missed Thanksgiving. The airline is counting on you not knowing the rule changed. The fix is to stop playing the margins. Be checked in and physically at your gate at least 60 minutes before any domestic departure. The old habits of arriving an hour before no longer count enough margin for delays at security, longer walks to far gates, or the simple matter of finding a restroom along the way. Quick pause. If this is helping you, take a second and hit the like button. It helps more older travelers find this video before their next trip. The next 4 rules are the ones experienced travelers say cost them the most before they finally learn them. Stay with me. Number 4. The camera at TSA. Most people don't know they can refuse. The 4th rule is about a choice you're making at the airport without knowing it's a choice. TSA has now installed facial recognition cameras called the CAT-2 system at over 65 airports across the United States. You walk up, you look at the camera. The agent waves you forward. You assume it's part of the normal process, like taking off your shoes used to be. It isn't. Here's the part TSA doesn't announce out loud. Every facial recognition scan at the checkpoint is completely optional. You can opt out at any time. There is no penalty. There is no extra screening hassle. Your spot in line is not affected. What happens when you opt out is the agent hand checks your ID, glances at your face the way they did for the past 20 years, and waves you through. The whole interaction adds about 30 seconds. What you avoid is having your facial geometry added to a federal database that, once you're in, is very difficult to be removed from. Older travelers are more privacy conscious than younger generations, but many have never been told they had a choice at all. The fix is one short sentence. When you reach the checkpoint, look at the officer and say, "I'm opting out of facial recognition." That's it. They'll process you the traditional way. Your face stays yours. That's the camera you can refuse. The next rule is about a piece of technology you've probably packed in the wrong place for years. Number 3. The power bank rule that just changed where you sit. The 3rd rule is one of the newest changes in the entire industry, and it directly affects almost every traveler who uses a phone, an e-reader, or a medical device on long flights. Following more than 50 FAA reported incidents of power bank fires inside overhead compartments in 2025 alone, American Airlines banned power banks from overhead bins starting May 1st, 2026. The rule is now spreading across other carriers. Southwest now allows only 1 power bank per passenger with a 100 watt-hour cap. United and Delta allow 2, capped at 160 watt-hours. Here's the specific change that matters for older travelers. Power banks must now be within reach and visible while in use, meaning they have to stay in your seat back pocket or in the bag stowed under the seat in front of you. They cannot go into the overhead bin. They cannot go into a checked bag. Ever. Many seniors carry power banks specifically to recharge medical devices like CPAP machines, glucose monitors, hearing aids, and heart monitors. The old habit of packing the power bank in the carry-on, lifting it into the overhead bin, and forgetting about it is now grounds for a violation that can delay an entire flight. The fix is to put your power bank in the seat pocket the moment you sit down. If you're traveling with someone, hand it to them to hold in their personal bag. And never, under any circumstances, put a power bank or any spare lithium battery in your checked luggage. The CT scanners at every major airport detect them automatically now, and your bag will be pulled. That covers the battery you carry. The next rule is about an entire piece of luggage that can get you stopped before you board. Number 2. the suitcase that can get you stopped at the gate. The second rule is one of the most unforgiving in this entire list. Smart luggage. The kind of suitcase with built-in batteries that charges your phone, tracks its own location, or weighs itself must now have a battery that can be removed by hand. Not with a screwdriver, not with a coin, not with any tool at all. If the battery is not removable by hand, the suitcase is denied boarding outright. There has already been a documented case in 2026 of a traveler having to abandon a $400 smart suitcase at the airport because the battery required a screwdriver to remove. TSA refused to make an exception. The airline refused to make an exception. The suitcase was left at the checkpoint, and the traveler boarded the flight with whatever they could carry in their hands. Smart luggage is one of the most common retirement gifts adult children give to their parents. A thoughtful gift for someone who will be traveling more. The senior receiving it usually doesn't read the technical specifications. They show up at the airport expecting flexibility. There is none. Zero discretion applies to this rule. The fix is to check your luggage right now if you own a smart suitcase. Look for the battery compartment. If you can open it with your fingers and slide the battery out, you're fine. If it requires any kind of tool, the suitcase cannot be used for air travel until the battery is removed permanently. Don't gamble on a forgiving agent. There are none. That's the second to last one. The first rule is the only one on this list that actually helps you, and it's the one almost no senior has ever heard of. Number 1. The free service most seniors don't know they qualify for. The first rule isn't a penalty, it's a benefit that TSA quietly launched for older travelers and almost never advertises. The program is called the TSA Guest Pass, and it allows a non-ticketed person, an adult child, a spouse, a grandchild, a close friend, to accompany a senior traveler all the way through security and to the gate. They don't need a ticket. They don't pay a fee. They just need to apply in advance and receive a digital pass through email. Here's why this matters more than any other rule in this video. For decades, every senior over 60 traveling alone had to navigate security, find their gate, and wait at the boarding area completely by themselves. Their adult children dropped them off at the curb and drove away. Now, with one free application, a family member can walk an older parent all the way to their seat at the gate, help them with the boarding pass, make sure they're comfortable, and then leave. It removes one of the biggest stress points of senior travel, the moment of separation at the security line. The program is currently active at airports including San Diego, Seattle, Orlando, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Ontario, California, with more airports being added throughout 2026. The fix is to visit your departure airport's official website before your next trip and search for Guest Pass or Visitor Pass. If your airport offers it, the application takes about 5 minutes, and the digital pass arrives in your email. Your son, daughter, spouse, or grandchild can walk you to the gate next time you fly. After years of being penalized for things you didn't know about, this is the one rule that finally gives something back. Now I'm curious. Which one of these new rules surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you want your next trip to feel smoother, calmer, and more in control, make sure you subscribe. Because stress at the airport doesn't come from travel. It comes from not knowing what's really happening.